All right, to do a poor rendition from the Hamilton soundtrack. One last time. This is Up North News Radio for this Tuesday, April 22nd. No, we're not going anywhere. We're just changing the name of the show, and we're making the show longer, starting tomorrow, 6 to 9, and it'll be called some form of the Pat Kreitlow Show. It's still Up North News. You're still going to hear about Up North News a lot. Just changing the branding a little bit because it appears you like me. You really like me. The show gets started at 6:06 all across the Civic Media Radio Network. And coming up today, we'll be talking to Sharita Booker, our social media manager, about popular posts of the past week. Christina Laurie talks a bit about some of the stories that she's following for our newsletter. And the Brewers, of course, facing their old friend, who's now a foe, Willie Adames, as they open up a series on the West Coast last night. In our second hour, we will talk to Hans Breitenmoser and a guest, a Marathon County farmer who is going to be hurt, along with so many other Wisconsin farmers, by the Trump-Musk budget acts coming down on a program that makes sure that locally grown food gets into our local schools and pantries. Seems like it makes sense, so I guess that's why it's getting cut. All that and more coming up in 3.5 minutes across the Civic Media Radio Network and right here. We'll see you soon.
across Wisconsin from Civic Media. This is Up North News Radio. Now, live from our Lake Minnesota studio, here's the founding editor of Up North News, Pat Brightlow.
Well, hey there, Wisconsin. Good morning. It's 6:06 on this Tuesday morning, April 22nd, 2025. It's another beautiful morning to have you here up north, live from Lake Minnesota, from wherever you're listening across the Civic Media Radio Network, on the app, on social media, by podcast. Thanks for starting your Tuesday right here. I've got a question for you. Have you heard about the lineup changes? Probably rhetorical. We've been talking about them nonstop for over a week here, but one last time, this is Up North News Radio, a 6 to 8 a.m. program that tomorrow becomes a 6 to 9 a.m. program and gets a new name as well. Still part of Up North News, still part of Courier Newsroom, still in partnership with our friends here at the Civic Media Radio Network. Just a few little tweaks here and there, and more of us, and more outlets, because as it turns out, not only starting today are we on the Up North News Facebook page and the Up North News YouTube page and the Civic Media Facebook page, we're now on the Civic Media YouTube page. So one more option for joining us along the way from by radio or online. You can also join us by phone or by text. 855-75-CIVIC is the phone number, 855-752-4842. Or you can use the Civic Media app to call us or to text us directly from that app, or you can put a comment on YouTube or on Facebook. We will see it here and maybe pop that up on screen. Coming up on the program today, we will be talking to Sharita Booker, our social media manager, about some of the more popular social media posts of the past week. Christina Laurie will be here talking about some stories she works on for our newsletter. Willie Adamas, the Brewers' former teammate, now foe. They saw him for the first time as they opened up a series last night in San Francisco. In our second hour, we'll talk to Hans Breitenmoser, and a Marathon County farmer who's been doing everything right, growing those crops, making sure that local food gets into local food pantries and on local school lunch tables. It was supported by a program that Donald Trump and Elon Musk have now taken an axe to, and that's going to hurt a lot of Wisconsin farmers. So we'll be talking about that, Brittany Merlot's forecast, and much more, all on the way. Speaking of Brittany's forecast for the state, she notes that there is warmer weather today. A warm front's moving into the state right now from west to east, but it's also bringing more chances for rain. She also notes that rivers are rising, so take note of any local flood advisories or warnings. So here's her forecast for today. Cloudy, scattered showers in the morning. Some rumbles of thunder are possible in southern Wisconsin, highs in the low 50s up north to the mid-60s in the south, south wind at 5 to 10. For tonight, partly cloudy, a small chance of showers in southern Wisconsin. Lows up north in the upper 30s, in the southern part of the state in the mid-40s, and a light southeasterly wind. Bus stop temperatures at 6 o'clock. You can definitely tell the warm front has started coming into the western part of the state because it's 47 here on Lake Wissota, 47 in Amory, 45 in La Crosse, but it hasn't reached Hayward yet, where it's 37. Wausau's at 34. Rapids 37. Green Bay's at 40. Madison 38. And it's 35 in the Milwaukee area, where we find one Greg Bach. And Tony saying on YouTube, hope Greg feels better today. Greg, good morning. Do you feel better today?
I've got enough cold medicine in me to power a village.
But all part of the plan. This is all part of the plan to help you feel better. But first, to make you feel better, we've got to drill into your sinuses and turn it into Mount St. Helens.
Well, I was actually what made me feel a little bit better yesterday was that I was frustrated at the fact I'm like, did I just pay a business to make me sick? Mm-hmm. I found out someone who had a similar procedure. It's part of the healing process.
It's part of the plan, man.
It's all part of the plan. Yes. So I sucked it up. I'm taking my Tylenol like I was prescribed to do. Did I throw a little Dayquil in there for flavor to taste? Yes, I did. But because I got to be operating. Got to be doing things. We got a new lineup tomorrow. We got new hours. We got new things happening.
We got so much to do. I mean, yesterday was definitely. Yesterday was a very productive day. Getting there's so many little things behind the scenes. I mean, just now I'm looking at the little slides that we put up on social media for like the commercial breaks, and realizing, oh yeah, I made a main one, but I didn't make one for the commercial breaks. So yeah, there's still things to do, but company's coming.
Yeah.
6 a.m. tomorrow, whether we're ready or not. So
yeah, it's like that thing where you're like ready to move and you're like, oh, I think we're good. And then you look in that room and you're like,
yes.
We haven't even packed up this room yet.
Oh, I have a great story about that from a friend of mine who I can't use the name, but it's a public figure, was talking about as a kid. As a kid, his like one of his grandparents had passed away, and then the other one passed away. So now it was time to sell the old farmhouse, and he talks about watching his parents and his aunts and his uncles all going crazy to get the place ready because there was going to be this auction.
Yeah,
and so they had to get things cleared out, and they worked so hard. And they got everything out. It was getting near the end of the day, and everybody was really relieved they had done it. And my friend says he spoke up in his little boy voice and goes, "What about the attic?" And they all realized nobody had gone up to the attic in this farmhouse.
Oh no!
And they had to do that too. And it was just like, and he felt like they wanted to turn on him and go, "Why didn't you say something earlier?" But it was their job.
So when you just look at your family and go, "Just want to burn the barn down."
And that's where we are right now. I've thought about that story a few times lately, going, we're going to be all set. And then at about 5:45 tomorrow morning, one of us is going to say, "Hey, what about that thing?"
Yeah. We'll do it tomorrow.
Yep.
I had something similar, only not as charming, where like I was getting ready to move out of my apartment, and I had just gotten racked with massive anxiety about moving and packing and all the things.
All the things.
And I said, "Hey, Mom, can you come over and help me just like get me like help me pack and what?" She's like, "Absolutely, come on over, and I'll bring lunch and whatnot." And she walked in the house and she goes, "Have you packed?" This was 48 hours before I had to move. She goes, "Have you packed anything?" I went, "No." Oh yeah. My mother, Jacqueline Ann Bach, she is a woman of momentous patience. Mm-hmm. And I tested it that day. She just had this thing of like, boy, I'm really proud of my child right now. And it's just, yeah, we got it done. She got it done. We
Thanks,
got it done.
Mom.
But, oh my God, it never will happen again. But yeah, I remember her walking in and realizing just how far behind I was.
Yeah, that's it. But we're getting there.
Yeah,
bit by bit, I believe.
Yeah,
the other thing we have tomorrow is a new clock.
Yeah,
and so I'm warning you all ahead of time. That's a little behind the curtain stuff, but we've got new times that we have to hit for commercial breaks. You won't notice a big difference, but for us, we have to, you have to hit that right on time because 7, 8, 9 stations all have to hit that commercial break at the same time. So
yes,
I've got this big old Post-it note above my computer screen right now with the new clock. Not to get fooled by it today, but be ready tomorrow. So we're telling folks now, just in case suddenly we're talking boom, the commercial break comes on right over us or something.
Yeah.
Or I toss it to break at 19 past the hour and say, we'll be right back. And then there's this awkward silence. And then Greg comes on and goes, we moved it to 6:20, right?
We have one more minute there, Pat. One more minute, Pat.
Okay. Well, then I'll just fill it with some sports like I'm going to do right now.
Talk about your bookshelf.
Yes. Now I'll talk about the Brewers instead. They went out west. The Giants beat the Brewers Monday night 5-2 in the opener of a 4-game series in San Francisco. Game 2 is tonight. Jose Quintana is on the mound for the Brewers tonight. You can listen starting at 8:10 on some stations across the Civic Media Radio Network, including the newest Brewer affiliate up north, WBZH in Hayward, WCQM in Park Falls, stations in Richland Center, Oshkosh, and Racine as well. The Milwaukee Bucks, game 2 of their playoff series in Indianapolis tonight. That is on NBA TV. Game 3 will be Friday in Milwaukee, also on NBA TV. If you want to watch the Milwaukee Bucks in the playoffs and don't want to get NBA TV, well, you just have to wait till late Sunday night for Game 4 in Milwaukee. We've got a lot to cover with Sharita and with Christina, so let me hit some of the news headlines real quick here. I could not help but notice something about the President of the United States and who he chooses to defend and who he chooses to slam. There is a new report of a second text message chain involving Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth leaking classified information about impending U.S. attacks. And please stop trying to sugarcoat it. If it's battle plans that haven't yet happened yet, it's classified information. Please stop with the parsing of what this may or may not be. It's exactly what it is. Was that the last straw for Donald Trump, who says he always surrounds himself with the best people, all the best people? No. He defended him to the hilt at the White House Easter egg roll yesterday, saying that he wasn't going anywhere. And yet this same president was slamming, personally insulting Jerome Powell, the head of the Federal Reserve System, because Powell had the audacity to tell the truth that Donald Trump's trade war is causing global economic instability. But you see, Donald Trump can control Pete Hegseth, just not his text messaging. He can't control Jerome Powell, who is an independent head of the Federal Reserve. So watch carefully when somebody like a president shows you who they are, believe them. In his choice to defend an incompetent defense secretary and slam somebody who has the audacity to point out the economic problems in their arguments. But it leads to this other contradiction. And the funny thing is, I think it started as an Onion headline because I did see it in the Onion, but I've also seen other people making posts on the topic of the Second Amendment. And it goes like this. All these folks that said they needed guns, they needed lots of guns. Well, that's to stand up against tyranny. That's to stand up against a tyrannical government that could do unconstitutional things. I mean, if we didn't have our guns, the government could like sweep people off the streets without like a warrant or any kind of cause. They could deport, they could put you on a plane and ship you out of the country and without due process. I mean, where's the law and order crowd for that? For not having due process. So we heard that's why we needed the gun. We got to have all the guns to rise up against the government. And again, I, like other people, I'm not saying we want you all to rise up with your guns right now. We're just saying you're being mighty quiet about the kind of government that you think you need the guns for. Unless, of course, it's, just about killing. We'll be back with more. Sharita Booker tells us some of the more popular posts on Up North News social media feeds. After this, I'm Pat Kreitlow.
Secret show.
Tony got here. Tony says,
that's a really good
thank you.
Point. Like you come up with these amazing points where you're like they're in the back of your head, they're swinging around, and I'm like, yeah, I can make those. And I'm like, I'm not. And then you say, and you're like, that's right.
Yeah. And
I wouldn't even say that like the guns for a lot of these individuals are for killing. I would say it's for the look of being able to, like the Western cowboy of it all. Like,
yes,
I have a lot of guns and I'm ready. Ready for what?
Right.
You live in Sturtevant.
Well, again, these are folks, when you talk about out West and cowboys, I mean, these are folks that see on Yellowstone, they see the Dutton family as like heroes. Hey, kids, they were a crime family. They were a criminal enterprise. Okay. I didn't watch the whole series, but I saw enough of it to know those were not really good people. They may have had the best intentions early on, but that Kevin Costner figure, he was not a Boy Scout.
No,
by any stretch.
I tried watching that show, and after a while, I walked into it and started watching, and the drama is compelling. Mm-hmm. But at one point, and this was like one of those times where you're like, oh, let's watch an episode, and you're like, oh, we watched 7 episodes, and after the end, I'm like, I can't. These people are all terrible. They're all terrible.
Mm-hmm.
So
there's nobody to root for. They try to give you the least evil person, and I don't know. Doesn't work out.
Secret show.
Yeah. And now we're going to visit with Sharita Booker, our social media manager. She's the person who at Up North News takes the things that come from me or Selena Heller or Christina Laurie or a lot of freelance writers or some of our national team and packages it all up so that you see it in a good order on Facebook and all of the other social media sites out there. So it's a lot to juggle. Sharita, how are you doing today?
I'm doing all right. I'm feeling good today.
Said like somebody who juggles a lot. Yes, that's exactly it. So we won't take much of your time here, but I just want to, as always, this time every week, see what posts were, striking a chord with folks. And so let's start first with Minocqua Brewing Company. And for folks that aren't familiar, this is Kirk Bankstead's operation. And, he and Minocqua have been doing battle for quite some time as he continues to be a nearly lone progressive voice up there in the North Woods in some ways. And sometimes he does it in some very, shall we say, passive aggressive ways. And others are much more outward. And in this case, it's the latest in his progressive line of brews. So what's the latest brew that is coming out of Minocqua Brewing?
The latest brew is their new Mexican lager called the Gulf of Mexico. And the back of the can explains why they created this new beer. It says, "We created Gulf of Mexico Mexican lager for those in America who still have the courage to stand up to the bullies and respect a world order that's held together by a common belief in democratic ideals and the rule of law." And some of the backstory, if you haven't already heard, in January, Trump signed an executive order directing the federal government to rename the U.S. portion of the Gulf of Mexico as the Gulf of America. And this change was a part of a broader initiative titled Restoring Names That Honor America's Greatness. So that post had more than 300 likes and more than 100 comments, which seemed to have like mixed reviews. Chuck Reese said, "Wow, way to cut your customer base in half. Pretty dumb idea jumping into the political world. Ask Bud Light how that worked." And Erica Vivia said, "The only time I'd ever agree with him." And Dr. Jenna Liskins said, "Where can I get some? I'd buy a case." And Jenna, the beer was canned last week, so expect to see it in the next few weeks here.
There you go. And to Chuck, by the way, every time Minocqua Brewing Company does something like this, you see comments like this where they go, "Oh, wow, you're about to cheese off, half of your customers." No. This is what Minocqua Brewing Company has been from the get-go. They are very proudly progressive. And so this is right in their business model. They're not looking to attract, a group of folks that don't necessarily disagree or agree with their politics. That's their choice. We've talked about this with other businesses as well. We're just telling you what these businesses are doing. You make the decision whether you want to buy their product or not, and whether you agree with them or not. Let's turn to our second of three stories that we're talking about this week. And it is one of the many roadside attractions in Wisconsin. This state has so many interesting roadside attractions. There's Chatty Bell, the giant cow on Highway 10 going through Neilsville. There's that great big muskie that you'll find up in Hayward. Just all manner of things. This one starts off by saying, "Have you ever been to a concrete park?" Tell us more about that.
Yeah, so we love helping y'all add to your bucket list. So check this one out. It's the Concrete Park located just off State Highway 13 in Phillips. And the outdoor museum has more than 200 sculptures made with materials like wood, mink wire, cement, and broken shards of glass. Now, this was all created by Northwoods logger turned self-taught artist Fred Smith between 1948 and 1964. And he wasn't able to read or write, but he did have an artistic vision that continues to live on even after his passing in 1976. And thanks to the Kohler Foundation, who bought and restored each statue and gifted the land to Price County, it's totally free to check out. And that post had more than 1,000 likes. Marion Lentz said, "Yes, and it is a wonderful place to stop. I took my photography classes there on the way to Cooper Falls State Park when I taught at Flambeau. I highly recommend it." And Jenny Sussman said, "I've been there several times, stopping on my way to things further up north. It is very unusual, a one-of-a-kind attraction."
I have not seen this, which kind of surprises me. I feel like I've been on every stretch of highway up north, but clearly must have missed it there somewhere along the line. So yes, now the next time that I'm up in that part of the state, I'm going to be checking that out. And I'm sure if you look around Up North News' website, you'll see some of the other roadside attractions that we've talked about over time, covered in our daily newsletter as well. And, again, it just adds to the allure. You can't just be looking at, the driftless area and, the beautiful rivers and everything. Sometimes you get the quirks to go along with it. So that's the fun part of it. Now, if you're in the Madison area, you're going to see something completely different on the roads or near the roads. And I, for one, am here to say that I salute my robot overlords in case they might be listening. But Sharita, there are actual robots out there roaming the streets of Madison now.
Yeah, and this is completely new to me and new to Pat. We never heard of it, but there's robots that deliver food to students rolling around the streets of Madison, dodging students and everything else, and they use GPS and radar or even sonar to find their way. They first showed up during the pandemic in 2020, and now they're just part of campus life. These robots were actually built in Estonia and are run by a company out in San Francisco. And if they ever get stuck at a busy crosswalk, a human can jump in and steer them remotely, I suppose. But I wanted to give a shout out to our UW intern, Henry Techum, who posted that gem on our TikTok.
It is about the size of a Nesco, one of those large, broiler pressure cooker, type things, or a small wagon, however you want to. And it's got this orange flag that sticks out off the top of it, and it's on wheels, obviously. And I mean, it's cute as a button. And I've seen these things on TV, but I did not realize they are actually out there now working, delivering food and things around the Madison area. I assume there's some kind of a secure way that only the customer can open it up and get their food out of there. And I'm sure we'll see more of these. I'm sure we'll see more delivery drones. I mean, I get that. I'm trying not to sound too much like a fuddy-duddy here, Sharita, but it just, I think it takes a level of trust that you're going to order food and a robot's going to bring it and somebody's not going to go, "Hey, free robot," and puts it in their trunk or something. I don't know. Maybe I'm just too cynical about this.
I agree, but it's been there since 2020, so I guess nobody stole it yet. At least that one we saw in the pictures. So.
And by the way, there are more cities where you're also seeing the self-driving cars. When I was in the Scottsdale area, you saw a lot of those. What are they called? Waymos, the taxis that have no driver, and it just takes you around. I am not ready for that yet. I am not ready for the self-driving car. I just know too much about how some of the other folks are on the road here. But to see the cute little robot that's delivering food and all of these other stories that Sharita's talking about, head over to our social media websites, any social media platform, search for Up North News or Up North News WI, and you'll find what Sharita's putting up there. Thank you, Sharita, very much. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Pat.
Back with more after this. You're up. Hey, welcome back. We are talking now to Christina Laurie as part of The Uplift, where we look at some of the uplifting stories that she follows, posts on social media, puts in our newsletter, tells us all about day in and day out. Christina, how are you?
I'm great. How are you, Pat?
I'm good, thanks. We've already talked about the Brewers' first game of 4 against the San Francisco Giants last night, part of a 10-game road trip that they're out on, where they saw a familiar face as they took on the Giants, a face I think a lot of fans still miss and still tell stories about, getting to see Willy Adames again.
Yeah, all fans miss him. I took a little trip down memory lane knowing that we were going to play Willy Adames again. And I just wanted to share my personal favorite Willy story that I feel like did not get nearly enough attention when it happened.
Okay.
Before a game at the end of last season, Adames was signing autographs when a teenage girl caught his attention because she was holding a neon yellow softball. And, he asked, "What's up?" "I play baseball." It turns out this girl's name was Kennedy, and the ball was special because it was the first home run that she'd ever hit. And he, of course, was her favorite player. So at first, he thought, like, does she want me to sign this? What's going on here? But she gave him the ball and just wanted him to have her first home run. So she ended up signing it for him, and he kept it in his locker at the Brewers ballpark, and it made the move with him over to San Francisco as well.
Oh,
So
is that ever cool?
yeah, it's just a really nice full circle story, and it shows you how humble Willy is, because afterwards reporters were all over this story, and they're asking, like, how do you stay like this? He's not new to the majors anymore. And he said he still feels like a kid when he gets the chance to play against some of the biggest names in the league. He said he met Derek Jeter for the first time when he was 27 years old and completely fangirled out. So it's nice to hear that no matter how many multi-million-dollar contracts these players sign, a lot of them, they just love the game and idolize players just like the rest of us.
Well, and it's important not only in sports, but in everything. When people go, "Oh yeah, that's easy to do when you make $1 million." No, it's something we can all do. And I know, Christina, we use the word joy a lot in this segment, but if you're doing something that either brings you joy, or if you can just find the joy in the little things that you're doing, for a living or for a hobby or for anything like that, life gets a little easier. We love to see that in athletes, whether it's a Willy Adames or, we've just had so many come through the area. Giannis right now with the Milwaukee Bucks that are just kind of infectious that way. And you don't have to be like that, but we live in an era where we could really use a little bit more wonderment at what we're all getting to do in life sometimes.
Well, and I've been hearing a lot of conversations going back to Adames of people saying, like, "Oh, dodged a bullet there. He's only batting 200 so far this season with 1 home run. Like, good thing we didn't spend a bunch of money on him." And I don't know about that. I think that Adames's biggest contributions to the team, much in the same way as Giannis or how Jordan Love appears to be leading the Packers, there are just those quiet leaders who are doing everything right in the locker room too. So it's much more than just their on-court presence. They're leaders off the field.
Yes, and again, in a workplace, sometimes the leaders aren't necessarily the ones who have the highest scores, the most sales, or whatever the case may be. Sometimes the leaders in a workplace, it isn't about the statistics. It's about the attitude that they bring, not just of themselves, but to everybody else. So we wish them well, just, not too well, especially this week.
He personally can have a great 3 rest of the games of these series as long as his team does it.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. And again, 8:10 tonight, coverage begins across several civic media stations for Game 2 of the Brewers versus the Giants. Turning to some of the news that we've been covering, and we did not have time to get to this yesterday with the Pope's passing, but it's reassuring to see this development when it comes to the Trump attacks on diversity, equity, inclusion, social justice, whatever you want to call it, that the Big Ten schools are banding together and saying, an attack by Trump on one is an attack on academic freedom against us all, and that they're not all doing the, every school for themselves. And boy, sure hope you're the next target from Trump instead of me. There's much more strength in numbers, especially on something this important, Christina.
It's like the NATO of the Big Ten. So all 18 faculty senates that make up the conference's academic alliance, which includes all the same schools as sports. So this is actually a great asset that we added 4 extra schools this season because there are power in numbers. They've all created a mutual defense compact. That's what they're calling it, to fight against Trump's attacks on higher education. So Rutgers actually started the plan by passing a resolution that asked university leaders to commit meaningful funding to a defense fund. So basically what that means is that if any school is politically or legally threatened, that money will be used to provide resources to support that school and any other school. So we're all helping each other. University leaders also asked to make their legal counsel available to all schools. And unfortunately, this, we were hoping that this was just like a last resort, definitely won't need to use pie in the sky type of what if plan, but it's looking like these scenarios really could play out. We're seeing what's happening with Harvard, Trump initially freezing $2.2 billion in grants. Now word is leaking. The Wall Street Journal reported last night that he's expected to cut another $1 billion. And I know I've seen the negative comments. I'm trying to both sides this and see what other people are saying. I hear the comments saying that these schools are very rich. Why are we giving so much money to colleges when we could be, doing X, Y, or Z? This is so important for everyone, regardless of whether or not you ever went to any of these schools or went to college altogether, whether or not you even value education. We all value different things. Maybe school isn't your thing, but these schools are responsible for so much more than what happens in the classroom. They're the ones that are finding cures for diseases through their research programs. They're the ones that are taking in people from other, countries all around the world. There are students from more than 160 countries at the University of Wisconsin. And then we're getting them here in the United States. We're getting their ideas. They're turning them into these potentially life-saving, whether it's inventions or cures or, whatever it is. And then we're getting that for free as part of just welcoming them to our colleges. So it's just crazy that these attacks are happening. And it really shows how undereducated our current leaders are.
Christina, imagine this situation. You go into Menards, and when you get to the cash register, you just keep walking and wave at the clerk and go, "Oh, no. The Menard family has enough money. They don't need any of mine." That's not what this is about. This is transactional. These institutions are not getting money out of the goodness of Uncle Sam's heart. They're paying for things, mostly research, but also all kinds of other services that these universities provide. So the notion that this was ever some kind of handout is foolish, and don't allow people like that to pull the wool over your eyes. Look at the transactional nature of what some of the most prestigious research universities in the world, located right here in the United States, are offering. The same goes for the U-Lines. You're going to buy stuff from them and go, well, they're billionaires and they give money to all these Republicans. They don't need my money. It doesn't work that way. If you want the transaction, you pay the funds. And yet Trump is over here saying, well, you guys got your own money. You don't need this because you're not following what is, in my opinion, this racist dictate that you are not going to teach history to its fullest and its most fact-based. And you're still insisting on diversity, equity, inclusion when we want something, more like sanctioned, discrimination. So good on all of these Big Ten campuses and the others that are finally standing up. Harvard filing its own lawsuit yesterday against the Trump administration. This is exactly what you need, is to stand up to a bully, whether it's in the playground at an elementary school or at a university.
And also, a lot of people are saying, but what about all the endowments? Harvard has so much money. That a lot of that money, and this is true for all schools, is not accessible. It's pledged money. So, for example, Ab Nicholas, the great Badger basketball player, he became a really successful businessman in his life. He passed away about 8-ish years ago, and he left behind the rest of his fortune for the University of Wisconsin to use for different scholarship programs. But it's earmarked for that. So they can't, if Trump would cut UW's budget, they can't just say, hey, okay, like we're going to cut back on these scholarships and instead we're going to use this money to fund this life-saving research, because obviously that should take priority. They can't use his money that way. And that's the problem that a lot of schools, including Harvard, are running into.
Right. Again, don't fall for the diversion. Let's wrap things up here as we get closer to the end of the school year, and some places are already talking about their commencement speakers who they're looking forward to. I don't know if you have any good stories like that, but the University of Wisconsin, UW-Madison, especially, is known for attracting some pretty high-profile, talented speakers to talk to those graduates.
And they've had a lot of high-profile speakers that are right up our alley, Pat. They've had David Muir, they've had Katie Couric, Tammy Baldwin, of course. J.J. Watts was super memorable. He actually wanted to put a beer under every graduate's chair. And the school rejected that for probably obvious reasons. But
Yes.
Then he even followed it up. He was like, can I give them a coupon to get a free beer at the union? The school also vetoed that. But just know, if J.J. Watt was your graduation speaker, he did want to buy you a beer. This year's graduation speaker is kind of a mismatch of both sports and news world. It's Wall Street Journal humorist Jason Gay. So you might not recognize his name, but you've probably read one of his columns. He's been working for the Wall Street Journal since 2009, but his pieces have also appeared in GQ, Rolling Stone, New York Observer, the Boston Phoenix. He graduated from the school back in '92, and his pieces are just really funny in a natural, not forced way. He even joked when he was given this honor, obviously, to deliver the commencement address, that he took a second to think of whether or not he should accept. And he said, I still ask myself before every big decision, what would Barry Alvarez do? So that gives you a little taste of what you can probably expect from his speech.
Absolutely. Did you have any celebrities or big deals talk to you at high school or graduation, or high school or college graduation?
I did not. And I'm really bummed because I went to the University of Illinois. That's another Big Ten school. And I got I don't want to call her a no name, but I can't even remember her name. It was what was so fascinating about it was, so the University of Illinois, the year I graduated, had just announced that they were going to start a medical school. They never had one yet. So it was someone from the medical field. But someone from the medical field giving a commencement address to a class that doesn't have anyone majoring in anything related to medicine, because it wasn't an option for us. Just didn't really I didn't understand the connection there. However, I was bummed. So I graduated a year early from school, and the following year there was a giant rumor that actually turned out like he was actually considering it, that President Obama was going to give the commencement address at the University of Illinois. And I was going to be really mad if I graduated early and missed that one. So I'm glad that one didn't happen.
Thankfully, just a rumor this time around. Overachiever, getting done with school a year ahead of time, Christina Laurie puts together our daily newsletter as well. Catch it over at UpNorthNewsWI.com. Christina, thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thanks for having me, Pat.
We'll be back with more after this. You're Up North. This is a clip from Saturday Night Live from this day in 1978. It is the first appearance of the Blues Brothers on Saturday Night Live, John Belushi, Dan Aykroyd. And it was only the second most popular song and historical note on what was definitely a historic episode of Saturday Night Live. In today's history lesson, Pat Kreitlow here, Greg Bach over there. Did we chase off Dan Hagen from Newswatch 12?
Maybe we made just too many references to things he doesn't know that he's like, you know what? These codgers have nothing for me.
Yes. They're old. They'll forget that I wasn't here. So I don't know. Dan, if you're catching this later, we miss you, buddy.
Yeah.
But you're too young to know, he said, going forward again, that on this very same show, on April 22nd, 1978, there wasn't just the Blues Brothers.
What?
There was also the guy at the height of his comedy, his stand-up comedy phase of his life.
Yeah.
Steve Martin did this song, which was on the charts at the time.
Man, you guys in the late 70s were weird.
Now, when he was a young man,
We had fun.
Yeah, you did.
It was a good time to be a preteen. We couldn't get in trouble, but we could enjoy all the fun of the cultural references.
Yeah. I mean, I watched these growing up. I realize now how much SNL played a part in my life because I would watch those best of episodes that would come on. They would play like best of SNL at like 5:30 in the morning.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I would wake up early because I just did, and they'd play them. It was great. I'd watch all these first 5-season huge like super cuts.
Trying to think, 5:30 in the morning. Interesting programming choice. Anyway.
Well, it was the 80s. They had a lot of content to fill 23 channels.
Yeah, 23 channels, right? Happy birthday to another musical legend of the 1970s. One Peter Frampton is 75 years old today.
Do you?
Do you?
Do you feel like I do?
And this is the one where later on, for like 10 minutes in the middle of the song, were you the one telling us about the little pipe that he puts in his mouth and the voice controls the guitar? Or
The talk
whatever?
box. Oh,
Yes.
yeah. It's a rubber hose that goes in your mouth, and you just, if I play like a wah, 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 it just goes wah, 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 wah. It's so fun, but it's so disgusting, by the way, because you have to
I was going to say,
clean that
rubber
too.
hose. It's brought out to you by Vinnie Barbarino.
Yeah.
Another 70s reference, kids. More birthdays for today. Jack Nicholson is 88 years old today. I didn't realize he and the Pope, the late Pope, are so close in age.
Keep it away from JD Vance. All right.
I wasn't going to go there, but you know what? Let's pause for a moment. I just want to pause for a moment and say,
Yeah.
that there's a little joke here and there about JD Vance on the day before. Forget the joke. If let's say Kamala Harris had met with the Pope and he died the next day, do you know what conservative media would be insane? There'd be gunmen on every grassy knoll. The conspiracies would be so deep. I'm just pointing that out. Sherry Shepard is 58 years old today. Machine Gun Kelly is 35 years old today.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. On this day in 1970, the first Earth Day was celebrated thanks to Gaylord Nelson, the man
Boom.
from Clear Lake, Wisconsin. On this day in 1966, a new record was released by a group called the Trogs.
And I'm a child of the 80s. This song only has one meaning for me.
Charlie Sheen coming out of the
Right.
bullpen.
Yep.
And the crowd at County Stadium going wild.
Still get goosebumps when they play in that scene. Because I'm like, oh, wild things coming.
And it's always nice when an actor like owns the role, fills the. We all know Charlie Sheen. He's had his moment, shall we say?
Yeah.
But you still buy him as Ricky Vaughn coming out of that bullpen in that moment of that movie.
Absolutely.
On this day in 1989, Madonna's "Like a Prayer" was both the #1 single and the #1 album. Happy birthday to probably one of the great utility players of the rock era. Paul Carrack is 74 years old today.
Like, he just was
everywhere.
I honestly, yeah, you're right. Utility play, that is amazing. He has so many hits with so many bands.
With so many different bands. He was the lead singer for Ace for the song How Long Has This Been Going On? 1975. By 1981, he was part of Squeeze, and you know him from the song Tempted by the Fruit of Another.
Yeah.
In the mid-'80s, he was with Mike and the Mechanics. You hear him singing Silent Running and The Living Years and some of their other hits. And then he had solo hits like this one in 1988.
Just awesome. And Mike and the Mechanics, very, very slept on Genesis universe band. Like, great pop songs that gave Phil Collins solo records a run for their money.
Without a doubt, yes. So happy birthday to Paul Carrack. Born this day, let me do the math here, 89 years ago, Glenn Campbell, who passed away in 2017. Yes.
Glenn Campbell, Pat.
Glenn Campbell, yeah. You know what? We should remind Brittany of that after the news.
I think it's important for her to know about these things.
Yes, we'll tell her about this man who was raised in poverty in Oklahoma, the seventh of 12 children. Eventually made his way to Los Angeles in 1960, became a sought-after session musician, and then was on the country charts, the pop charts, had his own variety TV show for a time. And he also has the official theme song to Lineman Appreciation Week, which was last week, which we'll remind Brittany of. And again,
thank goodness.
Why Brittany? We don't know. It just kind of came out that way.
Yep.
This is Work Zone Safety Week. Please be careful in all those.
My zone is safe.
Yes, have a safe work zone wherever you're driving. More of Up North News Radio coming up after the news here on the Civic Media Radio Network. Thankfully, nobody's here. Unlike last week when we did that, I had like 8 people asleep in the house, and here I am singing anyway. But,
so no, Dan, he just didn't. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. Since
we're still going to have secret shows,
millennials.
Pat.
The Last Dance as Up North News. See, I knew it.
Oh,
that was a tease. See, that was a tease.
Okay.
That was a tease. This isn't the last secret show. It's the last Up North News Radio secret show.
It's the last secret show of the show. Last show.
Tony says, greatest franchise of all time, Major League, go Cleveland.
You know what's funny as I was thinking about that movie is that Major League, the first one. By the way, okay, Shizu, thank you for bringing this up. I maintain and I will defend the point that SNL is still a fantastic show.
Of course it is. It's just like anything has its ups and downs, you know?
Well, the thing is that every episode has its ups and downs.
Yes, yeah.
Because if you cannot tell me with a straight face that you can watch every episode from the first 5 legendary years and everything was an on the park homer.
Oh God, no.
There are some massive stinkers in there. They're like this. Wow, cocaine isn't the drug people think it is. So, yeah, like not. I watch like modern. I mean, my God, the Pedro Pascal episode alone.
Mm-hmm.
It's got more bangers than oh my goodness. So yeah.
Any with John Mulaney at the top of his game.
Oh yeah. I mean, but even those early episodes post the legendary cast, those first 5 years in the 80s when Dick Ebersol was the executive producer, they're still funny. I mean, because that gave us Eddie Murphy and Eddie Murphy and Joe Piscopo together. I mean, there is funny stuff in there, and I just I take issue with anyone who says, "Oh, that's no sucks now."
And the thing is, even if there was a bad phase, and there were a couple of bad phases, again, inside them, there were some real jewels, which you only get if you continue mining. And sometimes when you're mining, you don't get the coal, you know, you don't get the diamonds. But let's see. Tony says John Hamm was very good recently.
John Hamm.
Love Weekend Update. Well, Weekend Update. They're
please
so at the top.
Please Don't Destroy is amazing. Like I have not seen a single sketch from them. Now I'm not impressed.
We have to be very careful talking about this next subject, but Weekend Update 2 weeks ago where Ego Wodum tried to get the audience to respond to something, but the audience all responded with a big old cuss word. And the look on Michael J. Collinger's faces was it's the same look you get when you have to hit the dump button. Like, what?
Why are we know where we're at, right? I have actually not. So, this is a secret show, so I'll keep it. So please, everyone watching. My wife has been taking care of her mother for the past few weeks because of a medical issue. So we have not. So I have held off watching our shows.
Sure.
So when she comes home, we'll catch up. So I haven't seen SNL in a few weeks, which is weird for me because I usually watch it every week. But I heard about that, and I heard a clip played, and I just thought to myself, first of all, live television is still on a 7-second delay. Like, they can bleep that out. They have the power. Yeah. They just chose not to. But also, I love Ego Wodum. Like,
I do too. I really
do. The cast
do.
right now is just so good. I mean, Bowen Yang is fantastic. Yep. And I feel like, oh God, I want to say Chloe Feynman. That's not the one, not Chloe Feynman. The tall one, her name.
Heidi Gardner.
Heidi Gardner.
Heidi Gardner's everywhere right now.
Well, yeah. First of all, exactly, and I love that. I love the fact that SNL players are endorsing things.
Yes, and Bowen Yang too. He's like in everything. It's like, when do you people sleep? But hey, they also know this is when you make the hay, because next thing you know, I'm just picking any name, Rachel Dratch, and people are going, "Oh, what happened to her?"
Sarah Sherman is amazing, and I don't know if you know how weird she is. Like, you get an idea of how weird she is on the show, but if you looked her up and Googled her, you might say to yourself, "Oh dear God."
Well, there are people I worry about that way, especially in comedy circles. The one that comes to mind for me is Taylor Tomlinson, who I see is giving up the TV show, which is. I mean,
did she give it up or was it canceled? It was canceled.
I thought she gave it up, and they kind of went with what it was she wanted to give it up. What's his face?
Stephen Colbert.
Stephen Colbert wanted it to continue with a new host. Yeah. And CBS said, no, we don't want that. We're good.
It just, I didn't understand the point. It was a show that got canceled initially. It's just, I never watched it. I don't know. It wasn't a show that interests me. And I think Taylor Tomlinson is a stand-up comedian.
Oh yeah.
And she's very good at what she does.
She does. But sometimes the way that some of the stories and things, I was just like, oh my God, if you were my daughter, I'd be so worried about you.
Yeah. Oh, when I talk about Sarah Sherman, by the way, I mean like her art is disturbing, but it's beautiful because it's visceral and hilarious. And sometimes Gallagher-esque, and there's sometimes a splash zone. It's because she used to go by the name Sarah Squirm in Chicago.
Okay. Marcelo Hernandez is, again, he's just really good.
Oh, he's good, but I feel like at some point he's got to leave that show because he's got to, like, he could host his own variety show.
Oh yeah. And Jane Wickline has not yet come into her own, but the understated roles that she's playing very well.
My friend Molly, they were on the show for 2 years, Molly Carney, and I was really upset when they left because I felt like they never properly utilized her.
Mm-hmm. How is Brittany today?
Good. How are you?
We're good.
Yay.
We still need to nail down. Were we good with 706 and 806? Is that what we're good with?
Yep, that works for me.
606 if it's weird out there.
Yeah, let's do it.
Whoa, you're gonna be on twice in a day?
Uh-huh.
All right. Don't be weird.
So we can't go chasing her away at 706 or she won't come back at 806.
At 706 every day, I'm gonna be like, I don't believe in weather. It's manipulation from the space lasers.
I meant singing to her. We shouldn't do that so much.
Oh, okay. Well, we
10 seconds.
We'll start that tomorrow.
Yeah, maybe.
All across Wisconsin from Civic Media, this is Up North News Radio. Now, live from our Lake Minnesota studio, here's the founding editor of Up North News, Pat Brightlow.
Hey, good morning. Welcome back one last time to Up North News Radio. Unabashedly Wisconsin, brought to you by Courier Newsroom and carried by our friends here on the Civic Media Radio Network at 7:06 on a Tuesday morning, April 22nd. And no, the show isn't actually going anywhere except the name. It's getting a new name starting tomorrow. It's getting longer hours starting tomorrow. Instead of 6 to 8, we'll be going from 6 to 9. We're looking forward to that. Coming up later this hour, our friend Hans Breitenmoser, who's a dairy farmer up in Lincoln County, will join us, along with a farmer from Marathon County. And they're going to talk about a program that helps ensure that locally grown food gets to local schools and local food pantries. It's a great way to support local agriculture so that not everything, on the lunch tables, not everything in the pantries is from some big corporate thing trucked in from 1,000 miles away. It's a good deal. And it's being wiped out. Not for any kind of budget savings, but to pay for tax cuts for billionaires. And so we'll be talking about that later on this hour. We'll also have Chad Holmes, who is talking about the final edition of the Chad Holmes program coming up in the next hour, as well as the Earl Ingram show. But Earl's not going anywhere, and Chad's not going anywhere. We will hear from them during our new morning show starting tomorrow, and of course throughout the whole revamped Civic Media lineup, which again premieres tomorrow. Head over to the Civic Media website, civicmedia.us, to learn more. Meteorologist Brittany Merlot is with us now. She will be with us at this time every morning, tomorrow, again as well, but then again at 8 o'clock, right after the 8 o'clock news. So, Greg, we must mind our P's and Q's because right now it's like, well, if Brittany, if she's uncomfortable, whatever, that's a one and done. If we cheese her off at, 7:07, we're not going to see her at 8:07. So I don't know that we should sing to her anymore because it's embarrassing, harassing. Because I noted in the last segment that Glenn Campbell was born 89 years ago today.
Wait, Glenn Campbell?
Glenn Campbell.
The same guy who has the official song of linemen?
Of linemen everywhere. There's not a
gosh.
lineman out there that doesn't know. Brittany hasn't left the room yet, so
she doesn't want us to sing this song. Oh, that's so sad because
I am a lineman for the county. We are so in sync.
And I drive the main road.
I'm going to miss that.
Searching in the sun for another home alone.
You can't help it. It's just so good.
It's an amazing song.
Yep. So anyway, no more of that. So that's done. But I hope you
never again.
Never ever again. Well, we've been having discussions about music licenses and whether we want to get in trouble with the licenses for any longer for our bad singing of Wichita linemen.
Glenn Campbell people, come at me, bro.
Right.
Rob in Tigerton makes clear the best meteorologists deserve more time. So yes. Of course you should.
Agreed.
So, while we got Rob, here's his good morning from Tigerton. Partly cloudy and 32. Last night I had supper at my sister Lori's house in Caroline. I had brats and sauerkraut. It was great. Today I've got to take Molly in my car for grease and oil change and brake job by my mechanic Todd. For Brittany, I've got to give Glenn Campbell's song "Sunflower" from 1977. Sunflower is a Glenn Campbell song that I had forgotten. And Rob, I love you, but I wish I could keep forgetting it. I do not like that song.
Then I will close my YouTube. There we go.
Oh, now I'm going to go look it up after.
Yeah. So we have had some rain. There were like snowflakes, a little bit more than snowflakes in parts up north yesterday. So that whole spring thing still continues to be fussy as it works its way in. But
it sure does.
How are we looking for today?
Well, we've got rain working its way across the state, especially south right now. A pretty moderate rainfall, bringing about 1/4 of an inch this morning. Up north, northwest, we're looking at some more light showers pushing through the state, and those are going to keep working their way east throughout the day today. We look drier at night, especially up north, but if you're down south, you have a small chance of a few thunderstorms popping up later on this evening and into the night. Now, I think a lot of those storms are going to stay into Illinois, but of course, a few of them could cross the state line. So keep an eye out for that. They're not supposed to be severe, but they're going to be on the stronger side of things. Otherwise, today, right now, we're waking up to temperatures in the upper 20s far northeast to the upper 40s far west. We've got spots of sun, we've got spots of clouds, and of course, spots of rain still ongoing. High temperatures today will make it to the mid 60s far south. But northeast, you're going to stay stuck to the mid 40s. So a lot of 50s throughout central Wisconsin today. And of course, tomorrow, we've got another wave of storms moving in. This low pressure system wants to dampen our day tomorrow, also into Thursday, and also into Friday morning before the system leaves. So we do have a wet next few days. Some thunderstorms are still likely again tomorrow morning. And then the soaker moves in Thursday night into Friday morning before we clear things out for a bright and beautiful Saturday and Sunday. But those temperatures are rising before they fall a little bit for the weekend. Why'd you say no?
Thursday night, a soaker on Thursday night
Couldn't
for
be
the
worse.
draft?
I know.
Oh,
Could not
this
be
is
worse.
okay. It's not snow, but you know what? Snow might have at least been romantic in Green Bay for the draft. But if it's a soaker, that's not going to be great. Oh well. I mean, I know we can't change it, but I feel bad for them.
Maybe we can push it just so it only rains during the evening and at night and overnight. Who knows? But my fingers are crossed that maybe the system speeds up and moves out of here. But
okay, well, it is what it is, kids. And if you decide to come to Green Bay, Wisconsin, at this time of year and you didn't bring the proper gear, well, guess what? There's a Packer Pro Shop probably with ponchos for sale, and you
for $30.
And you folks coming from Kansas City or Indianapolis or wherever, you're just going to have to wear some Packer gear if you didn't dress appropriately for the weather. How's that?
Exactly. I like that better.
Brittany, thank you so much. Have a great day. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Twice. Crazy. I know. Hey, speaking of the draft at 7:13 right now. Look, it's going to be a big deal, whatever the weather. Going to be a lot of visitors, and that's going to increase the need for security. But here's the thing. We already knew that the draft was coming. We already knew that security was going to be needed. We already knew it was going to cost taxpayer resources, and most people were fine with that. I'm fine with that. It's a big deal. It's going to bring at least $10 million into the local economy. The thing that I think is funny, though, is that the legislature is about to be asked to pony up another $1.5 million for security costs. And so to listen to one of the representatives from the area, one of the state assembly reps, talk about this, I just want you to listen to this soundbite from Representative David Steffen. He was on Upfront from WISN TV. And he's talking about the security costs. And of course, this is in his backyard. And so he's rather nonchalant about, how much these things cost. But let me just raise a point on the other end of this soundbite for the next, 90 seconds or so from Representative Steffen on WISN's Upfront.
It's $1.25 million. Yep. That'll be cover 2/3 of the public safety expenses related to hosting this event. 2/3 of the economic benefit of this draft is happening outside of Brown County. And so it's a reasonable ask when 2/3 of the benefits from outside Brown County, that 2/3 of the expense is also outside Brown County. Well, I don't think any of the local agencies expected the price tag associated with this. We've had, for example, our fire department has been working for months already, servicing and protecting those who have been working all around this area to keep this area safe. And so the expenses have really ballooned in terms of the cost to keep this area safe. I mean, who would have thought that to host this, just from a public safety perspective, that would be looking at roughly $2 million. And so that's a lot of expenses. It's a once in a lifetime experience, but that means there's also going to be a once in a lifetime expense. Everyone knows when you host a party, it always costs more than you expect. And that's certainly true here.
Any specific reason for that the prices have, or the costs have increased from maybe what was initially thought a couple of years ago?
I think there's also a reality that because the footprint is a little larger than some expected, the amount of activity that's been required over a longer period of time have increased. And to be honest, it just has a lot of high expectations. We have to keep this. We can't promise that the Packers will have a successful draft, but we can ensure that our community and state has a safe draft. And so we're going to do everything we can to ensure that happens. And that comes at a cost.
Greg, that comes at a cost. I mean, these things happen. Expenses go up. all I ask is that now we in some parallel universe hear the same comments from either that Republican representative or some other if the draft were being held in Milwaukee. And they needed another $1.5 million. And you try the line of, well, 2/3 of the economic benefit is going to be outside of Milwaukee. And so, the rest of the state should pony up 2/3 of the cost. Imagine what lawmakers from the Northwoods would have to say about that. And that's all I'm pointing out is how nonchalant, well, it's a party. Things come at a cost. What are you going to do? Yeah, because it's on your watch in your backyard. Please don't think we didn't notice. That's all I'm saying. It just sounded so odd at the time. I'm like, that is not what you would be saying if it were somewhere other than your backyard. And I want them to approve the money. I absolutely do. And do I think 2/3 should come from outside of Brown County? I can live with that. Just remember this in the future when there's something happening in the state's largest city in its economic engine. That's all I'm asking.
Yeah, I think it's fair to ask other counties to pony up some money. 2/3, I can't. I would want to see reports first. I would want to see projections and forecasts on costs and cost.
They'd want every little thing itemized. Yeah. Yes. Oh gosh, without a doubt.
But they don't have a problem pushing the cost when it's a county stadium that wants to be built. They'll give it to every other county. That's fine. Don't worry about that. That's a whole other topic that me and my mother-in-law talk about.
Oh my God, I'll bet it is. One more note, quick, from the state capitol, and that is that Republican leaders are holding off for the moment on introducing their own tax cut plan separate from the state budget. They've been talking about doing that because they don't want Governor Evers to take any credit if the next state budget happens to have a tax decrease. I mean, seriously, last year he agreed to sign a budget. He signed the budget. That's what governors do. So guess what governors get to do? They get to take a little bit of the credit because they could just as easily veto it or partial veto it and send it back. And Republicans were so unhappy that he would dare take some of the credit for tax relief that they've already put in the wastebasket his $2 billion plan for tax relief. And they want to come up with their own separate from the state budget. Well, now it appears that negotiations with the governor's office are going well enough that they're, for the moment, not going to try that trick. But again, kids, how can we make this a win-win? We can have tax relief and a state budget all together. More after this. You're Up North. I will actually miss that bumper. That was my favorite bumper music right there, the one at 19 past the hour. But alas.
Secret show.
Sorry, I had a quick trigger finger on the camera button there.
Oh, I don't mind that.
I wasn't cutting you off.
No, it's cool.
You must stop talking now.
Shut up. It's my show.
My show, mine.
Is your name Pat and/or Kreitlow? Well, it's not. So you shall silence yourself, little man.
No. Let's see. What else have I got here?
Hello. Oh, man. I hope Dan Hagen's okay.
Oh, I'm sure he is.
I'm sure he slept.
Uh-huh.
He slept like a sleepy boy.
Tony stirring up the pot. Pat is pushing Greg out.
Okay, I'll go back to bed.
I was just waiting for you to. I was waiting for you to start talking so I could hit the button and take you off the screen.
No. Oh yeah. Well, hey Pat, try talking now. Well, that's what I thought.
I can't.
Everybody, welcome to the Greg Bach Show.
Everybody
it's
online
Mornings with Greg Bach in the Secret Show. He's talking right now, but you can't hear him. I'm just kidding. There he is.
They can all hear me because I control the StreamYard feed. So,
darn it! I'm going to use all the sound effects before the end of the show because who knows what we'll be doing.
Oh no, we got sound effects. We can keep those.
Okay,
they're great. Let's see. What else do we got here? All right. Earth Day. Here we go.
More like Mirth Day. Am I right?
If you missed it in today's history lesson, today Paul Carrick is 74 years old, and he was part of Squeeze there. He was part of Ace. He was part of Mike and the Mechanics. He had his own solo hits. He was actually, remember that SCTV skit about Michael McDonald? And he's got to run into the booth, to sing background on all these different songs.
Yeah.
That was actually more like Paul Carrick was like running from record studio to record studio, being on all these records in these bands.
Spoiler alert, Michael McDonald references that sketch too to talk about how busy he was in the 80s.
Mm-hmm. As well he should.
Yeah.
Yeah. We spent the top of the hour commercial break. I don't know how we got on SNL casts. Oh, because today was also the anniversary of the show in 1978 with both the premiere of the Blues Brothers and Steve Martin performing King Tut.
Yeah.
And we got to talking about how, as you first put it very well, Saturday Night Live has always been funny. It has its ups and downs, as it has phases and shows, but we were going through the recent cast members here, and I did not know that you knew one of the more recent cast members, which is
Molly Carney is a friend of mine. We worked together on shows, booked her on shows. They're incredibly funny. Actually, I'm very lucky. This is going to be wait for me. Like, watch your toes. I'm about to drop some names. I'm very lucky to know several people who work there. So like, my friend Steve is now a writer again there. My friend Katie was a writer, gotten some controversy. If you look up Katie Rich SNL, there's some controversy there, and then, even though I don't want to call him a friend, I've worked with Michael Longfellow at the club, and he is just one of the nicest human beings alive.
Very cool.
And was very, very gracious when he was here. And I love that, because you look at, you're like, oh, you're on a national show. You are on national television. You are on SNL. You could have the biggest attitude, and you do not. And he was just lovely to work with.
Mm-hmm. As I'm looking through the list of how many seasons everybody's been on and everything, do you know how many seasons this is for Kenan Thompson?
21,
22. This is 22nd season,
and there's no sign of wavering, and he speaks of it just like, I love this job. Why would I want to leave it?
Mm-hmm.
And he's still amazing. He's still hilarious. Anytime the camera cuts to him and he's got big eyes of disbelief, it's fantastic.
Yes, he still, as far as I'm concerned, still pulls it off. Still gets it done.
Love it.
Yes. Today is Earth Day. Gaylord Nelson, former senator, the pride of Clear Lake, Wisconsin, started it. So here's where I get to tell my Gaylord Nelson story again, because Dr. Kristen Lyerly confirmed it. And I will mention this in every budget cycle until this legislature, controlled by Republicans, finally does something about it. Let's go back to the 2009 state budget. I was in the state Senate. The Great Recession was underway. The markets had crashed. The housing bubble had burst. And legislators right now are still fighting over a $4 billion surplus. It was even more than that in the last session, a multi-billion dollar surplus. We were looking at a deficit, a shortfall of $3 to $6 billion to fill. And as we were working on that state budget, of course, the last thing we could really be asking for was any kind of earmarks. There was no money for these things. But I also had brought to my attention that there was an omission out there on the roads of Wisconsin, and that there was not yet a road named for Gaylord Nelson, the father of Earth Day. And so the highway that travels up through Clear Lake and up toward the Ashland area, we had designated as the Gaylord Nelson Memorial Highway. But the only way we were allowed to put something in the budget like that is if we earmarked $0 for it. So we could not put up any markers. Private groups could raise the money if they wanted, but it is primarily a state job to make sure that we mark these things for our historical figures, for our history, for our geography, what have you. And, then I wasn't in the legislature and honestly just didn't think much about it, just kind of assumed that at some point these things would be dealt with. But you go back to Dr. Lyerly making a trek out to Clear Lake as part of like a camping trip throughout Northwest Wisconsin and everything. And I asked her to check it out. And I looked online as well. And near as I can tell, somebody can please let me know if I'm wrong. But to this date, even though that stretch of 63, I believe it is the Gaylord Nelson Memorial Highway, there's still no marker saying as much. And so I would hope that once again in this cycle, especially since there are Republican representatives in that area, whatever you think of Earth Day, maybe there's enough respect there for a former governor and U.S. senator to finally put the markers up about that. Again, it's a small matter. I get that in the big scheme of things, but I feel like if I don't remind people of that story, people will eventually look back and go, how could they name this for somebody? And this is like the one road that doesn't have any markers up. Well, now you know. In our newsletter today, we talk all about it being Earth Day, also World Climate Change Day, and there's a story in there about what Wisconsin's climate could look like by the year 2080 if trends continue. And then there are 5 great spots where you could celebrate Earth Day in Wisconsin. A link to that story as well. So take a look for that one in our newsletter. Sign up for it at upnorthnewswi.com. Also in our mailbox today, a press release from the governor's office, Governor Tony Evers giving an Earth Day update on planting trees. There's this thing called the Trillion Trees Pledge, where Wisconsin pledges to plant trees that help combat the effects of a warming planet, to get, the trees help remove carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, things like that. And the governor, noting Earth Day, Arbor Day, and Forest Appreciation Week, released the annual report that says Wisconsin planted over 10 million trees and conserved more than 57,000 acres of forest land in 2024 alone as part of the Trillion Tree Pledge. It was back in 2021 on Earth Day that the governor signed an executive order joining the pledge and committing to plant 75 million new trees by the end of 2030. It's just, again, one of those ways. It's such an easy way to make a difference. It doesn't solve everything, but it stops making the problem worse and even mitigates it in some ways. So wanted to call your attention to the ongoing effort to be part of the Trillion Tree Pledge on this Earth Day. When we come back, we're going to talk about the impact on Wisconsin family farmers of Trump and Musk cuts to an important agricultural program on Up North News Radio. I'm Pat Kreitlow.
I bought a novel, some perfume, fortune all for you, but it's not my
And this must be Tenzin over here. Hello.
Hello. Nice to meet you, Pat.
Nice to meet you, too. Did I say that right, Tenzin?
Yep.
Okay. Tenzin Botsford from Red Door Family Farm. Okay. We should be seeing Mr. Brighton Moser here, too, in just a bit. And we've got the info on the program. And where are you at? You're in Marathon County, right?
Yep. We're in Athens.
Oh, and that's right, in Athens. Hans did mention that. And the aforementioned Mr. Brighton Moser is right here as well. How are you doing?
Good morning, gentlemen.
How's life treating you?
Pretty good. You?
Okay. Pretty good. Are you doing field work yet?
Not yet. We got a little bit of manure hauled, but we got tons and tons of rain on Sunday night, so we're going to be on the fields for a little while.
Really quick, whomever, can you close out notification windows and silence phones and computers just so we don't hear those things pop in? Kind of makes it hard for replay.
Yeah. Yep. If you can silence anything that beeps, that would be
I don't know
awesome.
how to silence it on the computer. You got any hot tips on that?
If you just close out any of the other windows that are up just close out any other windows that aren't the StreamYard.
Yeah. Like if it beeps every time you get a new email, then just close out the email for a few minutes and then go back into it. So you should be good. All right. Good.
Whoa, Hans.
It's an earthquake is striking Merrill. Oh my gosh.
No, my wife always tells me I got to put my computer up higher so that my three chins don't show.
The key, Hans, is to bring it up high and then look up like this.
Yeah.
Bring
right?
your shoulder in.
Yep.
And then show some cleavage then as well.
If you'd like,
no, that's not what we said.
Hans, that's your art. I'm not going to tell you how to live your life. It's not what we do here.
That actually is why, yes, I got a drafting chair, one of those that sits up a little higher, like architects use at the drafting tables, just for that reason. Because if you're way down like this and the computer's looking up your nose and everything, so there's camera, there's lighting, there's having the right microphone if you're going to be on regularly. Which, by the way, we're going to. One of the commenters on YouTube watching Hans start to play with his shirt buttons, and she's just like, it's getting hot in here. Okay. Tony's in here calling for it. Oh my goodness. It's
I think I know a way we can pass this farm bill, everybody.
That's not the way.
Oh no. All right. I think we're in good shape. And this break has 2 minutes. So we're gonna need 2 minutes to calm down here. So I'm going to tuck you guys back in the waiting room so you can make noise, and I will come get you when the segment gets going.
Okay.
All right. Stand by. More from Paul Carrick, the birthday boy, turning 74 today here on Up North News Radio, which is Up North News Radio for one more day. Starting tomorrow, we get a new name, we get a new time. Still 6 a.m., but instead of 6 to 8, it'll be 6 to 9 as part of a whole new lineup of shows starting tomorrow here across the Civic Media Radio Network. Some things are going to change. For example, Joe Zepecki is often heard here on Thursday mornings at 6:30. We'll hear him at 8:30 instead. Tomorrow in our 8 a.m., our new 8 a.m. hour, we'll be talking to William Garcia, who, like Joe Zepecki, is a candidate for state superintendent of state chair of the Democratic Party of Wisconsin. You see, these campaigns, these elections, they last so long that you're still stuck in some of the old ways. No, they're running for state chair of the state Democratic Party. That'll be William Garcia tomorrow, Joe Zepecki on Thursday, and we're nailing down a date with Devin Remaker, one of the other candidates for state party chair, to get him in. New guests, Kristen Lyerly, who has been here Monday mornings at 6:30, is going to add a visit Friday mornings at 8 a.m. We'll still have our regular weekend review panel on Friday mornings at 7:20. And here's something else that isn't going to change. Every other Tuesday or so at 7:30, you're going to see the bright, smiley face of Hans Brighton Moser, a dairy farmer from up in the Merrill area. helping to introduce us to issues that are important to the entire state from a rural and an agricultural perspective. Hans, you are a rock of the lineup. Thank you for continuing to put up with us every couple of weeks or so. How are you doing up there?
Happy to do so. And the intro music, I thought this was an allusion to, if there's ever going to be a farm bill.
It could have been. It really could have been. We're still waiting on that, however many years now that it appears to be overdue. And yet, in the meantime, lacking a farm bill, there's still ways that, this Congress and this administration can have an impact on farming, positive or negative. And it appears we're just going for the negative here in the slash into a particular program. So, Hans, why don't you introduce the guest you brought along today, and then we'll talk about the particular program that's being cut.
Well, our guest today is my dear friend Tenzin Botsford from Red Door Family Farm over in Athens, and I'll let him introduce himself.
Tenzin, how are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me on, Pat. Good to see you all.
Thanks for more about Red Door.
We're a organic vegetable farm in northwest corner of Marathon County in Athens here. We grow about 10 acres of diversified vegetable crops. We sell at the Wausau Farmers Market. We sell the Saturday market specifically. We sell to a variety of restaurants and grocery stores and things of that nature. Then we also have our CSA program, which is sort of a subscription service. People sign up at the beginning of the season to get weekly deliveries throughout the growing season. And we deliver those in Wausau, Marshfield, and points between here on the farm. And we've been here for starting our 11th season.
And look, let's get into this particular program that's being cut because, again, Hans, these things are not cuts that are like going to save money. This isn't money that's going back into farmers' pockets. So when you wanted to approach the idea of a segment about the local food purchase assistance cooperative agreement program, again, folks don't necessarily know much about it, but it is definitely a program that brings value to family farms and pantries and school districts all across the state, right?
Absolutely. And again, Tenzin can explain way more about this than I can, but just speaking broadly, it's a means by which local food can get to local people. And you talked about it earlier in the show when you were talking about this segment in between renditions of the Wichita lineman, I think it was. The importance of being able to have local food get to local people. I mean, it reduces our dependence on, farmers' way, in other areas. It reduces our dependence on sort of corporate ag. It reduces our dependence on, the Walmarts of the world. And it's good for local economies because Tenzin and I can speak to this all day long. Give a farmer a buck. I'm going to tell you right now, it is not going under his mattress. It is going straight back into the community. So those dollars bounce around when farmers get a hold of them briefly. And if we can kill two birds with one stone and get food to local pantries and schools and so forth, this seems like a win-win.
So Tenzin, talk about the value of it from your standpoint individually, but also from a community standpoint, and why this is a good investment of taxpayer funds.
Absolutely. It was one of the highlights really of our farm getting to participate in this program. Basically the way it works, and it kind of went through a few iterations, but it was either giving food directly to pantries or hunger relief organizations or giving food directly to farmers to be used to purchase food. So in our case, the first couple of years, we would receive essentially a grant for the deliverables of X amount of product up to that dollar value. So it wasn't, it wasn't a handout. It was just, they were essentially purchasing food and they had set rates for different products and that sort of thing. And then the only cap on there was that we had to communicate with the hunger relief organizations that we were paired up with to ensure that they were wanting that amount of food at that time so that there wasn't piling up or jumbling up. So make sure that was flowing through and getting to people who need that food in our community right away.
And what was that part, that partnership like when you're having to communicate, with the community? Did it help you as a local food producer feel like you were more a part of the community, more integral, being able to provide this locally grown produce?
Yeah, absolutely. It was lovely working with the pantries. We worked primarily with Hunger Coalition of Marathon County, which is under the United Way umbrella, and then we would deliver directly to the neighbor's place in Wausau. And both of those are organizations that we have worked closely with in the past on other projects, and so that was really easy. We have easy communication there because we were already kind of focusing on that with our farm before this came up, and this came up as a way to just really bolster and blossom that work that we were doing, and made it a lot easier to add on little bits of other things too. So that worked really well. It put a lot of food from our farm and almost 300 other Wisconsin farms into the hands of pantries and other hunger relief organizations. That food was in high demand. I think there's often a misconception that what people need is really easy shelf stable food, but the reality is that the nutrient density and the quality of that produce is one of the things that are the most often missing, and one of the things that really can help get people back on their feet. Mm-hmm. And so I think that this program worked really well that way, and it opened up lines of communications. And part of the idea was for farms and hunger relief agencies programs to work together and really get those lines of communication open, making that sort of stuff happen. There's another program, Local Food to Schools, that has suffered a similar fate. And we've had, back during the pandemic, we had schools reaching out to us saying, hey, Cisco won't show up anymore because they've got too many drivers out sick or whatever the case may be. But we still have a need. Can we get food? And the way our operation works is we're on very thin margins, and we plant to an end. We deliver directly to our customers, and so we don't plant something until it has a place to go. So that doesn't work. We don't have a lot of extra things on hand. We plant for the markets that we have.
So for those who aren't, shall we say, knowledgeable about this and see it as, some kind of a handout, your business model does not depend upon, those particular programs, but they do help augment not only your operation, but again, keeps dollars in the local economy.
Yep, absolutely. And, I would say our business doesn't depend on it. But it was a significant portion of our income over the last couple of years, and it's sorely missed. And having the rug just kind of yanked out from underneath, we already had seeds started. We already had our crop plan in place. We already have our staff hired for the year, planning on that money, which was already agreed to and arranged and set up.
And that's the thing that I think is especially galling to a lot of folks is, look, you can make the case if you want that this program should not continue. Fine. In the next budget, it will not continue. But to have made a contract and then to yank it out for no non-emergency reason whatsoever, this breaking of a contract, you can see why there's global instability now about the full faith and credit of the U.S. government, Hans, when it can't keep its word and does this to its own farmers. It's very understandable why there is a certain skittishness about anything that this administration might say to folks, farmers or otherwise.
Yeah, there's no excuse for it. There's no excuse for it, Pat. And this impacts not just the farmers who are on the other ends of those contracts. And it impacts their lenders. And as I said earlier, it impacts everybody in the community because those dollars don't get shoved under the mattress. They get moved around. So, you're talking local credit unions who are being impacted and so forth. And then just you said it, the full faith of the government. There was a time when any lender and any farmer said, well, you can complain about the government, but by God, if I write my signature on a contract, I'm going to get exactly what the contract says. And everybody felt comfortable that was the case. That comfort is gone. And I don't know, it's, hopefully we can get that back again in the future. But right now, it's just not a guarantee the way it used to be.
No, it's not. And when, again, that's going to make it hard, for whoever the next president is, whoever comes in next, to make the case that, that what they're doing is they're living up to the old joke, trust me, I'm from the government. I'm from the government here to help you, which was always kind of an old saw, but now it's become a self-fulfilling prophecy with these folks. Tenzin, I can't ask you to speak for, the schools or for the food pantries necessarily, but I figure you can give a pretty educated answer. You've talked about the impact for you as a producer, but what does it mean as well now that these local school cafeterias and these local food pantries can't necessarily be assured of getting local food? They have to rely on, big producers and big semis and things like that, I would imagine.
Yeah, well, I happen to know that demand is still increasing in the Wausau area. I can speak to that. I know that there are, double digits new people signing up each day that the neighbor's place is open. Brand new accounts, people who haven't been in there before. And that's just right in our little community here. So demand is continuing to go up. People are in need of food. They're in need of the high quality food. And by the time that a person is needing to reach out and jump through the hoops to get food from these different organizations, they don't really have, weeks and months worth of reserves to fall back on. And this sort of interruption really presents a challenge to the people who were counting on this food. And the TFAP supplies, which is where they get most of their sort of federal food deliveries to hunger relief organizations, those are down as well. So those have dropped off 50% here since in the past year. So they're really scrambling. They're looking for food, and they have a lot of people who need it.
A very unstable situation here, but we appreciate you telling us about it. Hope that folks will see how they can help support Red Door Family Farm, Tenzin Botsford, and of course Hans Breitenmoser. Gentlemen, thank you both very much for all you do. Take care. We'll talk again soon. All right. When we come back, we will talk to Chad Holmes about his show coming up next on 98.9 WXCL. You're up north. There we go. All right. There, we're in break. Great, guys. Thank you very much. That was very informative. I didn't get to the point of, I want to get into more, Hans, about like CSAs. I was going to see online here. Shiju says, I'm looking forward to my local farmers market, getting into the swing of spring. Alicia, I just signed up for a CSA here. Looking forward to fresh local veggies. I have no knowledge of CSAs, Hans. What might that be, a future segment idea?
I think that's we got to get Tenzin on one more time again to explain that for us.
Be happy to do that.
Hey, yeah, if you're willing, we will definitely take it here. Before I let you go, Hans, real quick. Actually, you know what? I'm going to send you an email because it's still going to be the every others. But I've also got some time off in May and another guest to work around. So I'm going to send some dates and see if we can get those locked down in your calendar here.
All right. Sounds real good.
All right. Thanks, guys. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Yep, bye.
Cheers, folks.
One final secret show for Up North News Radio.
Is it Spicy Chad? Spicy Chad?
I think I'm going to go with Sentimental Chad.
Oh, we can play some emotional music.
Well, I didn't say we had to do that for Mr. Wassum, but
Mr. Wassum. That sounds like an amazing Marvel character. Like you don't handle the universe's problems, you handle all of like your region's problems. You're a real street level superhero.
What would your superpower be? Sleep deprivation.
Oh.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Here we go. All right, well, with the new lineup change will also come some new tunage on many of these shows across the Civic Media Radio Network. It's been a while since I've talked about the theme for my show is Stevie Ray Vaughan's Crossfire, and that the lyrics of it kind of help illustrate the way that we feel today. A lot of times we feel, caught in the crossfire, often a political crossfire. Plus, I like Stevie Ray Vaughan. I like the song. All these many months, couple years, whatever it's been, we've been playing this song from Genesis that kicks off Chad's show on 98.9 WXCO. You going to give me the generic Dick Clark answer? It's got a good beat, I can dance to it, or is there a story behind picking that tune?
Well, like you, I like the band. I've always been a big fan of the band. I like the song. I like the energy that it brings. It has a media take to it. It's called Turn It On Again.
Mm-hmm.
So start of the show, turning things on and getting ready to roll. So I think if you do listen to the lyrics there, it could be a little stretch. I don't think there's a perfect, in terms of lyrics, but I think it kind of sets the tone that I want to try to do at 8:06.
Yes.
Really quick question for Mr. Holmes. Are you a fan of all Genesis, like the Peter Gabriel years, or are you a Phil Collins guy?
I'm a fan of all of it because I really am. Because when I grew up in the 80s, that's when they kind of went to the Phil Collins everywhere, all the time kind of phase of his career where, you couldn't turn left or right and there's Phil Collins doing something. And then that got me into the old stuff. And to be honest with you, when I first got into Genesis, I was a teenager at the time. I had no idea that Peter Gabriel was the original lead vocalist for it. And I delved into it. And I mean, Supper's Ready and some other epics from that early era. I just love.
I had a boss who once said to me, he goes, I liked Genesis better when Peter Gabriel was a singer. And I, with all my non-Googleable 17-year-old confidence, stuck my heels in and said, he was never in that band. Oh God, just such a fail.
Those moments you look back, you just wince. Like, why did I open my mouth?
Right, and that's one thing about doing this for what we do. Doggone it! When you do open your mouth, you better be sure that you know what you're talking about, or else there's going to be some consequences on the other end.
Yep. Yeah. Hey, let's do something really awkward here with Chad. We have not really had the discussion yet. Well, the new show starting tomorrow, 6 to 9 a.m. But you're going to be a part of it, and Earl's going to be a part of it, and you're going to get to do other projects and other things as well. But it occurs to me that I don't know that we've nailed down that for the one thing that people can definitely count on. They're going, I want my Chad Holmes. It's like, I want my MTV. You want to keep doing 7:50 or so on Tuesday mornings like this? Do you want 8:50 instead? Are you sleeping in more now with the new schedule? You're going to be on sporadically throughout, but I mean, right now, if I'm looking at a wide open show board here, and you were throwing a dart, when could people count on getting a dose of spicy Chad?
I'm not sure.
Told you it'd be awkward.
No, but the thing about it is, and frankly, I think that looking behind the curtain a little bit.
Yep.
I got to make sure I know what my local segments are at this point.
Yes,
I mean,
we should.
I thought to be. And you want to get awkward? I kind of thought 7:50 was one of my segments. So.
It is supposed to be eventually. Let's do a little behind the curtain here. Is that eventually there will be like these local segments where all the stations across the Civic Media Radio Network have the option to pull out of this show and do, like in this block, about 8 minutes.
And you better believe I'm pulling out very quickly when I have my option.
Okay, well, so Chad Holmes will be. I just welcome to How the Sausage is Made with Chad, Pat, and Greg.
No. I mean, no, I don't mean that as it's just that I hope to be able to still add to what's going on, and I got folks that I enjoy talking to that I know that the folks around here want to continue to hear from. So
yes,
it's definitely going to take my opportunities, not to take away any of the mornings with Pat Kreitlow segments, but at the same time, I think the whole idea is to have the best of what you're doing and hopefully have the best of what I'm doing and really put it together in a nice way.
And that's exactly what it is supposed to be, is that during these local breaks, and the only reason we're not giving the details now is we're still working out a few of the details here, but
we need the details before
and we need the details. So we're going to start with the new lineup first, and then we're going to build the local breaks in. And that's what I'm saying is you're still going to have these local breaks, but I'm saying from a network wide standpoint, people that are going to want to hear you talking about the issues of the day, we're going to have to nail that down, because
I know. And the thing about it, I think that is something that we definitely need to do. And I hope that, and I guess the way I'll put it is, I am here. My plan is to be, in our lovely downtown Wausau studios and on beck and call, sort of like, get your bat phone ready. I'll have my bat
I
phone
like
right
that.
here,
That's good.
ready to answer. When you put out the bat signal, I will be right to the Pat Kreitlow Mornings program.
I'll give you a good example. We have Kristen Lyerly for a time had 2 slots. The one on Thursdays was kind of the serious, newsy Women Win Wisconsin or healthcare part. And the one on Monday mornings at 6:30 was just to kind of kick around the headlines. How are things? Well, she had to pay her back for a while when she was running for Congress, but now she's going to be adding a segment Friday at 8 so that she can talk more about serious things, healthcare things in the news. And so again, some things are going to change. Some things like Hans Breitenmoser are going to stay the same. So let's just tell everybody to stay tuned for coming attractions of Chad, not only with local updates from 98.9 WXCO, but continuing to join the show informally as well. We will be very lucky to have that whenever we can. And Chad, thank you for that.
I look forward to it.
Hope you enjoy one more show before you get to do all the stuff that doesn't require shoveling coal into an engine for 2 hours every day. So, all right. Have a good show. We'll talk to you later.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Meanwhile, Greg Bach is back for Matt and Aaron. Yes, sir.
With Pat Kreitlow at 10:30.
Well, and other people that you should tune in for as well. So, yeah, look for that coming up. And then their new lineup, 9 to 11, across the Civic Media Radio Network, starting tomorrow. I'm Pat Kreitlow. Have a great day. See you tomorrow up north. Patrick Ilyanovich.